Welcome to the Health Angle Podcast with Dr. Mike Headley and Dr. Gordon Fimwright, where we'll be exploring different angles of health to achieve the best version of yourself. Now, here's your hosts, Dr. Mike and Dr. Gordon.
Welcome, everybody. I am Dr. Mike Headley. With me is Dr. Gordon Fimwright. Welcome, Gordy.
Thanks, Dr. Mike, and welcome, viewers. Welcome to the Health Angle. Today's subject is drinking water, purifying and optimizing your hydration. And when I think of water, Dr. Mike, 71% of Earth is water. 60% of the human body is water. We need pure water, preferably purified water, but we need water, not sodas, pops, coffee, sport drinks, and other artificial, unnatural, sugary beverages, but pure water. So we'll be exploring everything on this subject. And just real quick, Dr. Mike, well, this came to my forefront, I would say 10, 15 years ago. And I read this study. It was from the Associated Press. It was an investigation on pharmaceuticals found in our water supply in 24 major U.S. cities. And that includes my city here in Chicago. And people are flushing down the toilet all their pharmaceuticals, all their drugs. If they don't use them, they flush them down the toilet. And of course, people are on drugs, neuronation. As a result, they're finding it in our water supply. They're finding antibiotics, hormones, mood stabilizers, and other medications. So in other words, if we don't purify our water, we're drinking that stuff. What comes to mind, Dr. Mike, when you think of this subject that we're doing this week?
Yeah, as a chiropractor, I was taught in school that our cartilage discs are 75 to 80-ish% water, knee cartilage, etc. And so when you look at someone's spine and posture and vertebrae, I was also taught that a lot of people go into a chiropractor for low back pain, and somewhere upwards of 60% of people have referred pain from kidneys, or it has some involvement with the tension and tightness in their lower back from kidney dehydration, disc dehydration, things compress. So water, maybe not the most important thing in the life, because I think oxygen is. We can't live without breathing, but we can't live for 40 days without water, right? We need pure, clean drinking water for our whole body, for our discs, for our cartilage, for our kidneys, and just to flush toxins out of our body, to cleanse and nourish our system. So water, wow, I ask patients all the time, how much water do they drink? And that's the confusion. The question I have for you coming back at you is, do we really need 8 glasses of water each day? Because I ask people, I asked the guy who was outside sweating all day yesterday, I said, how much water did you drink? He goes, I didn't drink any water. 75, 85 degrees, working out in the heat, didn't drink any water.
I know 75% of the U.S. population are chronically dehydrated, and people mistake dehydration for hunger. And what do they do instead? They eat foods. And we definitely need water. All our biochemical processes in our body are relied upon water. So hormone and enzyme biochemical reactions need water. Blood circulation, proper blood pressure to maintain body temperature, protect the spinal cord, lubricate the joints, getting rid of excess waste through perspiration, urination, and defecation, all relied on water. So critically important. And then, I just shared that first study, toxins and contaminants in our water supply. If our viewers are curious, well, I wonder what my water supply looks like. You can actually do an internet online search, type in quality water report along with your city and state, and it'll reveal a report. Your municipality will have the safety report with all the details. And some of the things that you might be surprised that you see, and I'll just make a list here that you can just kind of make a mental note as you're looking at your own quality report. Pharmaceutical drugs, like we just talked about, medication, lead from old pipes, old water pipes, industrial pollutants, arsenic, mercury, cadmium. And then there's agricultural runoffs. Too much rain causes runoff of these agricultural products, such as pesticides and herbicides, ends up in our water supply. Bacteria, viruses, algae, parasites. So all this ends up in our water supply, Dr. Mike. So it's pertinent that we get a fresh, clean supply of water, and I'll talk about that in a little bit. What are your other thoughts on this subject?
Yeah, I have the Environmental Working Group, EWG. There's a database, ewg.org. You can go on there and you can also search out your area to get water safety studies by putting your zip code in there. And to follow up with that, Dr. Gordy, I have a study that says over 267 toxins found in public tap water. This comes from July 30, 2024, just recently.
Wow.
So that EWG, Environmental Working Group, analyzed tests from nearly 50,000 U.S. utilities in 50 states and tested for 500 different contaminants. 267 were detected. Nearly 19,000 public water systems detected lead levels above 3.8 parts per billion, which would put a formula-fed baby at risk.
Wow.
The immediate solution to protect your drinking water is to install a water filter on your tap. But at a broader scale, the solution is to stop the source of pollution, such as industrialized ag. And so EWG.org, they have some digital downloads of Clean 15 and Dirty Dozen lists of foods that you can benefit from, and then just typing in your zip code to find out your water safety levels. And then one real quick follow-up with the toxins. I have a study from June 11th, 2024, toxic water contaminants implicated in Parkinson's disease. Water pollution is one of the gravest threats facing humanity. Hazardous water pollutants include arsenic, fluoride, nitrate, pharmaceutical drugs, a lot of stuff you mentioned, pesticides, and microplastics. Data links exposure to respiratory systems, irritation, headaches, lightheadedness, harm to developing fetus. So water pollution is crazy rampant in the world and in the United States, and can even be implicated in Parkinson's. I was blown away by that, Gordy.
Wow. In today's world, no surprise. You know, when I think of solutions for purifying your water, I mean, purification systems. I'll talk a little bit more about what I do personally, but also what else is out there. But when you talk about purifications, some of our viewers might think, oh, you mean adding electrolytes or making it alkaline? Now, both of those are fine, but we're talking purification, getting the toxins and the chemicals out of the water. I'm a big fan of electrolytes, putting electrolyte powder in drinking water. I play a lot of beach volleyball, so I'm out in the sun, and a lot of dehydration, and I want a natural product. So I do hydrate my water, but there's two hydration products that I'm going to present here. One is called Hydrates Electrolytes. What I really use is the Ultima Replenisher, and it has 6 key electrolytes and trace minerals, all natural, no sugars added. It has potassium, magnesium, sodium chloride, phosphorus, and calcium. Those are really important electrolytes. And then the other components, it has vitamin C and zinc. And if you think of when most people think, oh, I need to get Gatorade to hydrate myself, Gatorade is full of sugars and unnatural flavorings, and it has a limited number of electrolytes. Basically, it just has sodium and salt. A lot of people take Gatorade thinking that they're doing their body good, but in reality, there's other replenishers or other sources that you can get a lot of electrolytes with no sugar or any extra chemicals in it. Bottled water is one thing that people go to, but I want to talk about a study called Frontiers of Chemistry. They took samples in bottled water throughout the world. They took 259 samples, and they found 93% microplastic contaminants, such as BPA. That's pretty significant. So if that applies to the United States and you're a regular drinker of water from your bottle, that means 93% of the time you're drinking some form of contaminant, probably BPA. BPA is bisphenol A, and virtually all plastic bottles sold in the United States are not BPA free. They leach into the water, especially with severe temperatures during the transportation, whether it's too hot or too cold, and it leaches and ends up in our water bottles. So one of the things that you can do is look for BPA-free labels, and you can buy such things as glass, water and glass, or stainless steel, ceramic containers. You can buy home unit purification systems. They're expensive, and I think there's a maintenance that is needed, which can add to the expense level as well. There's home delivery services, which may or may not have extensive purification with that water. And then there's also carbon filter pitchers that you put in your refrigerator. It's better than drinking tap water. Still just isn't quite enough. So what I recommend is two things. Number one is refilling one of these. And I'm showing, for those that are watching this, I'm showing a 5-gallon reusable, refillable water container, and it's BPA free. It should say it right there on the bottom on the label. It should say BPA free. And the other thing that I have here is also a 3-gallon reusable, again, BPA free. So the way you can tell a BPA free is usually it's pretty solid plastic. If you look at some of the plastic containers, they're usually pliable. If they're pliable, this is not BPA free, and usually these can leach in, the plastics can leach into your water. So anything that has just kind of a hard plastic, and this is a water bottle, BPA free. So that's what I'd recommend. What I do is I personally bring in my empty containers to a grocery store. You can get them at Whole Foods. I think that's a national chain, or you can get them at health food stores. Sometimes they have water refilling stations. But what you're really looking for is 5-phase purification refilling stations. Some may also offer alkaline, so you can make the water alkaline. And what does alkaline and acidic mean? Just a real quick note. When people want to know if they're acidic or alkaline, you can do that through a litmus test. And if your body is acidic, you're basically prone to just about every disease there is. Most people that have acidic bodies are ones that are eating junk food, and they're not really watching what they're eating. They're not exercising, and make your body very acidic. If you're alkaline, which you really want to push for, it's really hard to get diseases because your body has less inflammation. You're basically functioning at a higher level. So you can have these purification centers. Some will offer alkaline as well with the purification. So Dr. Mike, I'm going to go through the 5 phase. The number 1 phase is activated carbon. This removes contaminants, odors, and bad taste. And then the second is micron filter. This removes dirt, rust, and other sediments. It also removes parasites, lead, and heavy metals. And then the third is reverse osmosis. This removes salts and other common chemical contaminants such as sodium, chloride, copper, chromium, and lead. It may also reduce arsenic, fluoride, and radium. And then number 4 is the post-carbon filter. This continues to purify and improve the taste of your water. It also removes chlorine and unnatural tastes and odors and other chemicals. And the final and 5th phase is the ultraviolet light. This is basically effective for all viruses and bacteria, as well as protozoa. So this process ensures that you have safe and high quality water. It's a little effort to bring the empty containers, but I think it's well worth it. There's nothing better than having fresh, pure water that's available to you. Back to you, Dr. Mike.
Yeah, a couple of things to follow up. On one of our podcasts, we talked about gut health and the microbiome, and we really emphasized that plastics decrease our gut bacteria and really damage our microbiome. So I appreciate you mentioning just how toxic that BPA and how important it is to get the right plastics. Really important. I use a product called Aqua True, it plugs into the wall, so it needs electricity. Their claim to fame is you can take a 2-liter bottle of Coke or Mountain Dew, which is really colorful, and pour it in there where you'd put normal tap water. Has a 3-filter system that it just makes the water pure, like it drinks like out of the tap. So it's kind of wild to put a 2-liter bottle of Coke in there, filter it out pure, and there is some water in it, but it takes a lot of that caramel color and all the toxins and chemicals and poisons out of there. So I like the Aqua True water filter. And then I'm a bit of a prepper just because we lose power in northern Minnesota in the winter and the summer, and I have a generator, etc. But I also on hand, I have a Berkey filter. It's maybe not rated the highest non-electric type filter, but it's the top 5. And so I can take a couple 100 yards from where I live, there's Mississippi River water. I could take that water from the Mississippi and put it in a Berkey filter through 4 different filters, and you can drink it without boiling it or anything like that. So I have that isn't reliant on electricity. So those are my 2 favorite personally, Aqua True and Berkey filters. Maybe we could have a podcast about prepping, not just for the end of the world and go live in a bunker in South Dakota, but just like for tornadoes and ice storms and power outages and tornadoes and power lines down or what have you. And it's just kind of how we live. We're canning vegetables now and freezing things and just having extra things on hand. And then I use 3 different types of electrolytes, Gordy. I like Ancient Nutrition collagen in general, but they have an electrolyte formula too. That I was in my sauna this morning at 5:05 a.m. and at 170 degrees, so I needed some electrolytes afterwards. And so I like Ancient Nutrition collagen blend. Then I have this NUUN, non-hydration. You've probably seen things at Whole Foods, different tablets you can put in water and it fizzes and dissolves and then you can drink it. And so there's several different types of electrolytes. I like Element, the company Element. So there's some different ones. I like a variety of them, but I think it's really important to hydrate after we sweat, like you said, whether it's on the beach or in a sauna or what have you. So that's really, really critical. And then before you continued, I wanted to discuss with our listeners, do we really need to drink 8 glasses of water each day? How do you really know individually how much water we need? I have a couple of statements here from Dr. Mercola. He says the best way to determine how much water you need is to listen to your body and let thirst be your guide. It's a myth that waiting to drink until you're thirsty is too late because by then you're already dehydrated. Your body's physiologic thirst mechanism is triggered before you're dehydrated. I like to measure how much water I feel I need on an average day, so I can never blame how I feel or if I'm cramping up or whatever on my water intake. So I've figured out at my office how much I want to drink before noon, how much I want to drink in the afternoon, so I'm not drinking it at 10 at night and going to bed. And so a couple measures I like to check is skin turgor. When you pick up the skin on the top of your hand, how fast does it go back flat? Okay, and if you do that a few days in a row, when you think you're well hydrated, or for sure when you figure out to drink water, you'll notice a huge difference in skin turgor. You'll have this crease in your hand that lasts seeming like 30 seconds. It's about a few seconds when you're dehydrated. So your skin isn't as elastic. So measure with that. They say your urine should be a straw color, not just completely white, because sometimes we can pee out a lot of the minerals in the electrolytes as well. And so I use that, how my energy is. If I drink 24 ounces, am I urinating a good amount out? Or am I like, geez, I drank 30 ounces of water and I didn't go to the bathroom. I could be dehydrated. So a lot of different measures to really hone in on how you feel instead of just half your body weight in ounces of water automatically. I hear that out there a lot. And the more electrolytes, and I like putting sometimes mint leaves or sometimes even tinctures that I've made, and chaga tea that doesn't have, and herbal tea doesn't have any caffeine. So I feel like that's a fairly good a source of water, even though there's tea in it and it has to process through my system. So half your body weight in ounces of water is pretty safe when you're sweating a lot and you're athletic and fit. But if you're using electrolytes and really eating fresh, good, and have a smoothie, I don't know if you need half your body weight in ounces of water if you're doing quality water and it's absorbing. So what do you think about that?
When you have a lot of foods too, I think people don't realize that that's a source of water as well, fruits and vegetables particularly, no doubt about it. I thought about something, Mike, when you were talking, and I think a lot of people think, oh, good, I can have my hot coffee and hot tea. I want to make a point that those plastics, those microplastics can leach from those one-time usable cups. So if you're going to the coffee shops and you're getting those one-time usable cups, more than likely you're drinking some plastics, and there's a whole lot of things that can go wrong by having too much plastics in your system. I want to make a final point, Dr. Mike, then I'll give it back to you. I want to challenge our viewers to, just for 1 week, try to go 1 week without your sodas, pops, coffees, sport drinks, or other sugary or unnatural beverages. Try 1 week. And try to think instead of getting some purification type of water, some pure water into your diet. And make a note. I would recommend writing down how you're doing before. You might not have anything to write, but as you're going through this for the whole week, write down what you're experiencing. And I think you might be pleasantly surprised how your body feels after 1 week without any artificial, unnatural liquid, basically. So that's my final point, Dr. Mike.
I like the challenge, and I'm going to take you up on that. One of my favorite books regarding water is a book called Blue Mind, and it explores on how water is healing for our mind and body and emotions and stress levels. And when we have a blue mind, we're in the parasympathetic mindset, rest and digest, relaxation mode. And so taking a shower, a lot of people feel relaxed in the shower. People feel relaxed in a hot tub. People feel relaxed along the shore, just sitting on the beach. People feel relaxed in the backyard pool and or the beach or the lake or the ocean. And water is healing. And they use water for people with PTSD to go snorkeling or just soaking in the water because it's sensory deprivation. Salt float tanks are water and salt to really help the mind and the body and the spirit. And so connect with water, whether it's just in your shower or bath with Epsom salts, ocean, walking on the beach. If you don't have to swim, you can just enjoy meditating and reading a book along the beach, playing volleyball like you do, Dr. Gordy. So Blue Mind is a really, really interesting book. And the research says the more we're exposed to water, whether you have a water feature bubbling in your office or home, or you just go stare at, I know in Chicago has different fountains and water and river and stuff. It's kind of relaxing to walk along the river or see fountains, and water is very healing. And then my last point, I wanted to just talk about molecular hydrogen. I've studied Dr. Joseph Mercola for 20 plus years and read his newsletters and read his books and stuff like that. And for someone who sells supplements and is really authority on health and is research based, I'm always curious what their favorite supplement is if they could pick one thing. He takes more than one thing. His favorite supplement, Dr. Gordy, is molecular hydrogen, because it's a superior antioxidant because of its absorbability and ability to get inside the cell membrane. And he sells tablets that go into a glass of water, and as soon as it dissolves, it creates this gas. You have to drink it within 60 seconds, so you can't just let it sit around for 5 minutes. So molecular hydrogen, you can find water purification systems that make your water have molecular hydrogen gas in it, and they make water bottles where you put regular filtered water into it and it bubbles it up and makes molecular hydrogen. So it helps their body create its own antioxidants. And that's a really popular supplement, so to speak, because of its antioxidant ability. So molecular hydrogen, look into it. There's water filters, there's water pitchers that you can use. You can get tablets. And I'm a big fan of molecular hydrogen water because of the high ability to help our body assist in its antioxidant ability. And so I'm really, really a big fan of that, Dr. Gordy.
That's great, Dr. Mike. Thanks for sharing a lot of helpful information. And I hope our viewers will take advantage of some of the techniques that we shared. Our next subject, Dr. Mike, is going to be listed right below us here on the screen. I'm going to let you close us out.
So I always like to close our podcast by saying, what's your number one takeaway from what we discussed? What jarred in your mind? Something you could discuss with your friend or your family at the beach this week or this day. You're playing volleyball, you're out golfing, you're sitting at lunch with someone. What's your number one takeaway that you could have a little discussion with your friend or coworker about water? And then personally, what's your number one action step? Are you going to really, really, really take it serious and take Dr. Gordy's challenge? And what's your other? Are you going to invest in a water purification? You're going to invest in one of those 5-gallon containers at a Whole Foods or something like that and really upgrade your water. So take an action step today, because changing your water can change your life, can improve the quality of your life, can improve your spine and nervous system and your discs and your kidneys, can really make a huge shift. And if you're really, really healthy and you could improve your health 10% by improving your water quality and quantity, wow, take advantage of that. And so next time, I'm excited to keep exploring really good topics, from everything from, we're going to dive into cancer in the future and dementia, which includes Alzheimer's. So we could discuss some of that in the future as well.
We absolutely will. Please subscribe. Thank you for joining us this week, and we'll see you next week for another episode of The Health Angle.
Thank you for joining us on the Health Angle podcast. Please subscribe to our channel and catch us for our next episode.